My name is Luiz Zanotello. I am a Brazilian artist and designer, and I have been living in Germany for the past 5 years, and mainly concentrating more and more in my media artwork, along with my teaching practices as an assistant professor in Berlin. And the title of the work is The Aerographer. The work mainly speculates about a further time when we will be reaching a more air-like society. So in a sense, it tries to sense the air in different spots, and it translates the air into a sort of a network. The work started by thinking about network infrastructures and how they are very rigid and fixed. So if we take a look at the installation, we have these fixed spots in the ground that do not move. And on top of it, we have this network that is built by the moving parts.
My name is Marnix and Nijs, and I'm an artist based in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. I'm presenting here the work, the Autonomous Oil Reserve. It's a small oil reserve that consumers can use in case of scarcity, when there's no oil available or when the supply lines of oil are under pressure. I developed a system that is capable of defending your oil reserve, and the defense mechanism is actually self-detonation. So it's a bomb. If people would try to steal your barrels of oil, it would release pure oxygen on the 300 bars into the oil vessel, which will obviously not be able to handle this enormous amount of pressure. So we will have a mixture of oil and pure oxygen being released in the space. Of course, we have a flame here that will ignite it, and this whole object will explode.
I'm Saša Spačal. I made this project Metabolos with Mirjan Švagelj, a scientist, and this project talks about a very special bacteria that has two very special qualities. One is that it makes something that is very needed for humanity, that is antibiotics, and the other thing is the smell of forest after rain. This installation lets visitors enjoy this smell of forest after rain, but at the same time it also produces in its structure, in its central laboratory structure, antibiotics that is then led back into the soil. Streptomyces remotus bacteria that lives in this laboratory structure also in nature lives in the soil. As the viewers probably know, there is a huge problem rising in medicine that where everybody is getting very resistant to antibiotics. So that's why also in the central laboratory structure, the antibiotic is led back into the ground as a commentary to the fact that we should keep the antibiotics in the ground, and also the bacteria that makes it. Just for reference, every minute there is 5 metric tons of antibiotics being produced in the world.
For me as an artist, there is a poetry in this system, how I made it. Because it generates its own electricity that powers the defense mechanism. I will explain a little bit how it works. We have a flame here burning, that's the oil. On top of it, there's a Peltier element. It's a specific element. If you make it hot on one side and cold on the other side, it will generate electricity. With this electricity, I power up here the little control unit that's equipped with sensors. There's some values that I can keep track of the process, but it also powers up the pump that pumps up the oil out of the vessel. So it's a defense mechanism that, while defending itself, eats its own resources. It's a remake of another oil reserve I made before. That was a very big tank, and I always had the idea that it would make sense to build a smaller consumer version out of it. Also, for me, the joy as an artist, a technician, to improve the system and to make that running better. So that's one of the motivations to reproduce this work. But also the topic, this whole problem with oil, and that we're still using it and burning it and that is causing most of the political trouble at the moment, is still relevant. And even with Trump and other people, it's even more relevant than it was maybe at the time.
I usually work in the art and science field, and how people tend to see technology and nature as something separate, but for me this is all part of the same ecosystem. We are all living in this ecosystem, and to see ourselves as something separate is, I think, a big illusion. So that's why what I think is really important in this ecosystem to think of ethics, how we are using this technology. Because technology is not just, I don't know, some digital devices or mechanics or something. It's also technology how we use biological materials. And if we think of ethics, how to do this, that we nurture each other, nurture other beings on this planet, that will make maybe this planet a more sustainable place.
We are living at times where things are more and more autonomous, and more we're relying to these machinic types of infrastructures. So this is a core component of the work, is how these things are just working by themselves. They do not require us as humans to be there, but we live along with them. So and we influence the way that they work. So the people moving in the space, the temperature in the space, this micro climate that we create as we also visitors within the room also influences in the work. So these machines, they look that they are working alone, but they are not really alone. So we are along with them and influencing the way that they are behaving.